I'm back from Vegas, and guess what? Oh, Canada, our home and native land. There was no Miracle on Ice. There was just a McGolden goal, baby. But we got Dolphin stuff to talk about. Tyreek Hill, the offensive line. And are the Miami Dolphins sending a message to their players directly via social media? We're going to talk about it all. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. And let's get into this episode powered by BetUS.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field on the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for the touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. And we are back for another one. Appreciate all you coming through. You know, I had to show up. Hey, man, gotta show up today. Everyone talking about Canada becoming the 51st state after yesterday. The U.S. might be our 11th province when it comes to hockey, baby. All that trash talking for, winning a tournament game with no championship on the line. I saw it. I saw it all over X. I saw it all over Twitter from some people who I know are diehard American hockey fans, and for some people who I know are as casual as they come, talking all that trash. I kept watching the clip of Kurt Russell, Miracle on Ice, blah, 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 blah. All for what, baby? All for what? Y'all really thought you were going to beat a Crosby-led Canadian team twice in a week? Are you nuts? Not happening. Never happening. Captain Canada would never allow that to happen, and he didn't. Thank you very much. Let's go, baby. Hockey is, was, and will forever be our sport. You can have the NBA, you can have basketball, you can have football. Then again, go look up the under 21 football championship and who won that. Your friends up north over here, huh? Go Google it right now. Who won the under 21 World Football Championship? It was Team Canada. Go look it up. Remember, y'all got smoked by Japan in that. And we're talking football here. So y'all can have football. Y'all can have basketball. Yeah, well, you and the Dominican can have baseball. You ain't taking hockey ever. You have to take it from our Canadian dead stone grip hands. Never happening. But either way, what a fantastic game. Doesn't matter who won or lost at the end because all the viewers won yesterday. It was a fantastic game. Fantastic game. Lived up to all the hype. Even if the U.S. would have won, I would still be sitting here saying, what a fantastic game. Lived up to all the hype. And the NHL has figured out a much better alternative than an all-star game no one gives two F-U-C-Ks about. All right? So, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I really think baseball should adopt that because they can. Between the Dominican and all the different Caribbean, islands that players come from, et cetera, et cetera. I really, and then Japan and stuff. I really think Major League Baseball should adapt something like this, for a week of All-Star. It would make sense. It would make a ton of sense. It would make a ton of sense for baseball to adapt something like that next. And basketball would make sense too. I mean, France, the US, I mean, you know, you can make you could get at least 4 to 6 teams for basketball too. So it would make a ton of sense. Football is going to be the one that's going to be hard. That would be the one where how are you going to make the Pro Bowl mean something again? Good luck to you. You know, basketball and baseball could adapt that format that the NHL did. I don't see that adapting very well. Obviously it's the NFL for obvious reasons, right? So, you know, so let's I love it, baby. I love it all day. Hold on. First of all, I got to shout out this man. All right. We're going to shout out your comment in a sec. But the first thing we're going to shout out to you. Shout out to D Hugga. All right. This man went out of his way to reach out to me and wish me a happy birthday. Appreciate you, sir. I didn't really put my birthday out there this year at all. My birthday was on the 18th, 3 days ago. It was on Tuesday. I was in Vegas for my birthday. We went and saw the Michael Jackson 1 show. We won a little bit of money, not a ton. We won a couple $100. At the end of the day, we came out about just over $200 positive. So we didn't win much, but we won a little bit. And hey, when you convert it, hallelujah. So shout out to D Hugga for going out of his way, hitting me up on Twitter and saying happy birthday. I appreciate you, sir. I just wanted to let you know. I was going to reach out to you directly, but the fact that your membership thing came up here, 47 months, brother. You've held me down for 4 years. One of the people I appreciate the most. He's always been, when, you know, he'd come up when we'd open it up. When this channel was more about opening it up to the public, you'd always come through. So you know what? Shout out to you. And I appreciate you, sir. I really do appreciate you, sir. He says, you share a birthday with my dad and bro, so it's easy to remember. Wow, your dad and brother were born on February 18th as well. You know what's crazy? You know, I've told y'all that I used to be in hip hop, and I used to run a independent label up here in Canada. What's funny is my main artist on my label, when we were coming up, we still keep in contact and stuff. And his daughter ended up being born on my birthday too. Kind of crazy how that works out, eh? You know, kind of crazy how that works out. You know? Shout out to you, Justin Vanderberg. I appreciate you. Appreciate you. Thank you, sir. And listen, hey, man, we're not going to get political here, though I will say this, okay? I will shout out Trump for one thing, for sure. Shout out to him for taking that hard stance on Maine, okay? As a father of 2 daughters, I believe female sports should be for biological females and male sports should be for biological males. As a father of 2 daughters, you know, and hell, if my kids transitioned to both become males, I wouldn't approve of them going, you know, and playing in. I just wouldn't. So shout out to Trump. I saw that. I saw that today, and I was like, okay, that, you know, as a father of 2 females, I would not like a genetic male coming into a sport and trying to dominate them, let alone being in the locker room while they change. I just don't. I'm sorry. Scorpion King, happy birthday, Reason. Shout out to you, Scorpion King. Thank you. Another 4 years, bro. 3 months away from 4 years. All right? But we're not going to make this. We don't talk politics on this channel. We ain't about politics. Listen, I don't care who you vote for. I don't care. I don't care where you stand. This is a Dolphins channel. This is a sports channel. We are here as fans of a team. I do not listen. I just, people got their own reasons for what they believe in. It's same as religion. I don't care who you believe in. I don't care what you believe in. That is your choice. I believe in freedom of choice. You want to practice whatever you want to practice, knock yourself out. You want to vote for whoever you want to vote for. It could be different from how I vote for, but I'm not going to view you as a terrible person or a horrible person or a detriment to this world. I don't roll like that. I just don't. I never have, never will, man. You know, I do never let politics and religion come into this channel. And I also, on a personal level, never allow it to affect my view on a person. I just don't. You know, If you're a good person, you're a good person. If you're a bad person, you're a bad person. That's it. That's all there is to me. You know what I mean? And your religion and your voting tendencies, to me, do not, at least for me, don't indicate if you're a good or bad person. It's how you treat other people. At the end of the day, that's what you're going to be judged for. When you're standing in front of whatever maker you believe in, you think they're going to be looking at your ballots, your past ballots, and saying, oh, you voted for him, you voted for him, you voted for her. Okay, you're going to hell? No. They're going to look at how you did people right and how you did people wrong, pause, throughout your life. That's it. All right? So, nothing but love to all of you, period. So, enough about that. Let's get into this because I got some stuff to talk about because I've been away. One thing that happened while I was away, well, first of all, I hope y'all enjoyed those videos. I that while I was away. I thought I made a pretty strong case for Joe Milton. Now, that video originally had much more film in it, and I had to take the film out because I kept getting copyright struck for certain clips that I had from the Bills game. So that did have originally more film in it, but I thought I made a pretty decent case. If you want to sit here and talk about a developmental backup quarterback, Joe Milton makes a ton of sense. He's already got a year of NFL coaching and some reps under his belt. Hey, man, if you could tell him, hey, because think about it. Who's going to be there in the 4th or 5th? Who is going to be there in the 4th or the 5th? That is, you're going to be taking a roll. You're going to be rolling on the dice on someone. I think I've said this before. I think there's only 4 guys I would take in the first 4 rounds, and they're all going to be gone. McCord's going to be gone. I'm sorry, not McCord. Dart's going to be gone. Milroe's going to be gone. And then Shedeur and Cam are going to be gone. Now, when you start getting into the McCords, McCord is someone who I would want to take a day 3 flyer on, a 5th round flyer on. Either I know he's gaining a lot of traction, and actually when I finalized my big board, he was my number 6 guy. I know Tyler Shough is getting a lot of love right now. The guy's going to be like 26 in week 3. I'm not even exaggerating. He's going to be like 26 in week 3 of this season coming up. Here's the problem with that. When you look at Tyler Shough and how he came through, because I remember him coming out of high school. I remember the hype of this kid coming out of high school. I watched him at Oregon. I've watched his whole college career. Yes, the guy has the tools. That's why he was a top quarterback recruit. Yes, his fundamentals and technique at the position, right? Like footwork, he doesn't really drift off too much. Like when you watch him in the pocket, it's pretty good. And then he can make really nice throws on the run, and the mechanics don't really crumble when he's on the move. He can still be pretty mechanically, really well set mechanically when he's on the move and making throws. So, I get all this. But the problem you're running into with a guy like Tyler Shough is the floor. Like, there's not much of a ceiling, right? When you start getting to like 26, how much more of a ceiling do you really have? Right? That's why people are seeing his mechanics and his fundamentals in certain situations being a lot better than even Cam Ward in some situations, because the guy's going to be 26. The guy's, he's played a lot of football already. Now, I think he is one of those, this is what he is. He's a low ceiling, high floor player in the proper situation. That's what he is. That's exactly what he is. He doesn't have the ceiling of a Milroe. He doesn't have the ceiling of a Dart. He doesn't even have the ceiling of a Shedeur. I'd say Cam has a better ceiling than him too. But Tyler Shough, I get the infatuation. Yes, when you look at the tools, when you look at the mechanics, yeah, it's there. That's why he's my 6th quarterback for a reason. But the issue is, and it's going to be, right? Low ceiling, high floor. That's what he is. So, now, another thing I've seen, over this. Let's talk about Bullygate. I didn't have a chance to talk about Bullygate because obviously I was away and stuff and I had some videos drop. So let's get into my thoughts on Bullygate are this, right? Like, I was a Richie Incognito fan when he was here. Okay. So we now know Bullygate was pretty much a lie. We now know it was really fueled by his parents getting involved. And there is a conflict here. I'm sorry. I don't care what anyone tries to tell me. I've got a conflict here. Listen. Was Bullygate blown out of proportion and was just Jonathan Martin's way of getting out because he was realizing he wasn't good enough, couldn't hack in the NFL life? Yeah, it seems like 110% that's what it was. But I still cannot turn a blind eye to the voicemail Richie Incognito left. You know, I still cannot turn a blind eye to the racial slurs I heard coming out of Richie Incognito's mouth towards Jonathan Martin. Okay? I'm sorry. You know, through this community, I've got African-American friends. And outside of this community, I've got African-American friends. Outside of this community, I've got African-Canadian friends. You know, listen, you know, I was in the hip-hop industry. Sorry, man. Even when you're trolling someone, even when you're ribbing someone, yeah, you don't throw around racial slurs. I can't get past that. I'm sorry. Do I think Jonathan Martin was lying and blowing up Bullygate? Yes, 110%. But that voicemail does in fact exist. So, listen, do I absolve Richie Incognito of the whole Bullygate ordeal? Yes. But do I absolve him of the racial slurs I heard come out of his mouth on that voicemail? No, I can't. I'm sorry, I just can't. All right? I'm just not going to say it. I cannot totally turn a blind. And like, let's be real here. I saw so many people reaching out. Oh, hey, can we get like, yo, man, like, let this thing breathe a bit, first of all. Okay. And you know, I don't know, man. That's why I didn't really touch on the subject. A, I was away. I didn't want to get into it. And B, I would just save it for you guys and let you guys know how I felt. And really, you know, listen, we all knew Bullygate was a farce. We all knew it's when the damage really started with how the NFL and the media treats us. We know that for sure, especially as the society has turned more woke and woke. Okay? But I can't get past the racial stuff crosses a line with me. So, sure, let's absolve him of Bullygate, but let's not forget about the voicemails left, because let's be real here. If someone was leaving derogatory or racist remarks on your child's voicemail, on your wife's voicemail, on your husband's voicemail, on your mother's voicemail, on your father's voicemail, on your best friend's voicemail, whatever way you want to spin it, you would feel away. You would. I'm sorry, you would. Again, as a father of two daughters, if someone left that on their voicemail, because my children are mixed race, I'm coming for you. I'm sorry, I'm coming for you if you leave that on my daughter's voicemails. I'm coming for you, period. So, I get that aspect of it, but I think the whole bullying thing was blown way too far out of proportion. So, Garrett, not a fan of Tom McDonald. Never have been, never will be. I'm just not a fan. So that's all I got to say on Bullygate. I mean, you know, it's just such a it's an SHIT show. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. So, and that's the thing. They were good friends off the field, and that's cool. But bro, I got a lot of friends with different races. I don't know. I don't say that. I don't. I just don't. Never have, never will. You know? So, you know? So, it is what it is. Go look at, you look at my wedding party. I had a best man and then 5 groomsmen, Only 2 of them were Caucasian. Sorry, 3 of them were Caucasian. All right? You don't see me calling the other 3, even though they were my groomsmen and some of my best friends in the world. You don't see me calling them derogatory and racial slurs. It just doesn't work like that. Sorry. It just doesn't. So, hey. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Don't ever let it be what it ain't. All right, another thing I want to talk about too here, okay? We're out of time. We got time, huh? I'm seeing this conversation happening everywhere here. No, I do not want Najee Harris. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? I do not want Najee Harris. I'm good. I see people out here, let's get Najee Harris, da 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 da. Man, this guy had to run the ball 307 times to break 1,200 yards last year. This guy has not, do the math. This guy has already had 1,100 carries in 4 years in the NFL. I mean, we are talking about those treads, my friends. Oh boy. The tread on those tires, man, they're getting lower and lower and lower. All right. Remember, he had almost 640 carries in college too. So you're getting to a guy. Think it. Well, next season, if you do the math, there's a good chance next season he's right below 2,000 career carries. He's probably going to get another 250 carries next year, right? So that'll take him to just around, 1,315 carries in the NFL. And then he had about 638 carries in college. I mean, we're talking about a 2,000. That's a lot, man. And why do people want to sign Najee Harris? Am I missing something? Did we not just trade up and draft Jalen Wright? Why are we going to try and go get Najee Harris when we just traded up and drafted Jalen Wright? You just got the Thunder to Achan's Lightning. Do people have a short memory here? Do y'all forget what he did when he actually was given the ball a little bit against New England? In New England? His only double-digit carry of the season. He had 13 carries for 86 yards. He was averaging 6.6 yards per carry. Comes back the next week, gets 5 carries for 33 yards against the Colts. Again, averaging 6.6 yards per carry. Arizona, all of a sudden, he plummets down to 2 carries for 18 yards, 9 yards a carry. Then all of a sudden, you just see it just dips. Obviously, that fumble against New England the second time really hurt him. They started taking carries away. He only had 9 carries the rest of the season after that New England game. They punished him more than they punished Raheem Mostert for fumbling and costing us the Arizona game. They punished Jalen Wright more. We still won that New England game. Jalen Wright is your running back too. Why are we going to sit here and go pay Najee Harris? It's the same reason why it wouldn't make sense to take Ashton Jeanty if he's there at 13. Love the kid, but it makes no sense. If we're sitting at 48, and my favorite running back of this class is Caleb Johnson from Iowa. I'm not going to take Caleb Johnson at 48, even though he's my favorite running back in this class, because of what we had. This is why I've been talking about maybe a Bayshul Tootin out of Virginia Tech on day 3 if he's still there. Maybe you go with Devin Neal or an Ollie Gordon. I know people want Damian Martinez. There's options, but shout out to Alf. If you watched the conversation I had with Alf, it makes a lot of sense. Are we just going to bring in a guy like Elijah Mitchell as a number 3? Is that what we're going to do? Is it just going to be a cheap guy off the market? You can be number 3, knock yourself out. So, you know, this whole Najee Harris talk to me is ridiculous. We don't need, by no stretch of the imagination, we shouldn't be spending a pick on a running back before day 3, period. And I love Cam Scatterbo. You're not going to spend it first day. We got way too many holes right now. And you just traded up to take Jalen Wright after the year before trading up to take Devon Achane. You are not. I'm sorry. You are not. And I know why they were a little hard on Jalen Wright last year was because they expected him to be one of our best blockers or the best blocker in that backfield. And he had some missed assignments last year. But no, I just can't get down with paying a Najee Harris or taking a running back in the first 2 days, man. We got way too many needs. Way too many needs. So, you know, now if I can get Caleb Johnson with one of my 4th round picks, all right, let's talk about it. But he's not going to be there. You know, so it is what it is. It's just not nonsense. You know? Again, Scatterbo, I will start looking at guys in like the 5th round. Now, if someone's sliding, like a Quishon Judkins or Caleb Johnson are sliding, and they're there in the 4th round, okay, let's have a conversation. Because we got 2 of them. But, you know, and then we're talking about like value, you know? So, but yeah, I just can't get down. I think people are nuts talking about this. I really do. Again, why I wouldn't let people near, you know, my draft war room or my free agency war room. Same people that want Tyler Warner at 13 are the same people out here saying, let's sign Najee. Come on, people. You know, like, again, Tyler Warner, I'll go on and on about it. He's not even the consensus number 1 on a lot of people's board. You'd be surprised. There are teams that have Colston Loveland as their number 1 tight end, because if you make Colston Loveland, he's already a willing and capable blocker. He's not a great blocker, but he's willing and capable. If you can make him a good blocker, he's a much more dynamic threat than Tyler Warren. Same thing with Gunnar Helm. I've said this. If you make Gunnar Helm a good blocker, he's a far more dynamic threat than Tyler Warren. Right? There's certain guys in this class, like, you know, there just are. Like, look at Harold Fannin. You know, you talk about dynamic. If you can get that guy where you want to be as a blocker, holy jeez. You know, look at Harold Fannin. Holy, talking about dynamic. You know, so we'll see. We will see how it all plays out. Yeah, I'm super high on Gunnar Helm. Gunnar Helm he's making my man crush list. I can already tell you that. Gunnar Helm is making it. Get ready. Love that guy. I love the ceiling. And, you know, when you got John Embry, see, that's the thing. Guys, we got John Embry. We got Frank Smith. Go look at John Embry's track record. Tony Gonzalez, he made Cam Jordan into a Pro Bowler. Right? He's the one who developed George Kittle. Go look at all the tight ends John Embry has developed. Go look at Frank Smith. Smart enough to say, hey, Darren Waller would make a better tight end than wide receiver. Converted him, and look at the stud Darren Waller became, because we've got guys with those visions. You shouldn't have to spend a top 15 pick on a tight end in arguably the deepest tight end class in decades. You should not have to spend a top 15 pick to get a stud out of this tight end class. That is a fact. If you do, then why are these guys on the staff? What does John Embry do? What's his role? What does he do if you have to do that? Seriously. Think about that for a sec. What are these guys doing? Even more reason for me to say, get rid of Frank Smith and move up Darrell Bevel if y'all can't find a gem of a tight end. You already got me scared, and you guys have already shown you're not living up to your resume. You let Elijah Higgins walk while Tanner Connor and Julian Hill have been mitigated failures. I'm already calling you out right now for how you've handled that tight end room. Don't screw up the deepest tight end class in decades. Don't. Because now we got a real conversation. that I'll hold your feet to the fire for. Seriously. Oh, brother, if Will Johnson's there at 13, run. Run, baby, run. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this channel and this show. Listen, they got a question they want to know. Put it in the chat right now. Whether you're watching now, put it in the live chat. Whether you're watching after, put it in the chat then. How would you rank Tua Tagovailoa's seasons from worst to best when you break it all down? I think that's a great exercise. I personally did the exercise, and how I ranked it was this. When I looked at it, clearly 2023 was his best year. 2022 I would have as his second best year. 2024 is his third best year. 2021 as his fourth best year. And 2020 as his fifth best year. How would you rank it? Let me know below. And guys and gals, listen, March Madness is coming up. All right? The push for the playoffs is going to be starting in the month and a bit for NBA. So go over to betus.com right now. Go use promo code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. Get your first 3 deposits matched by 150% up to $2,000. Some of the quickest payouts in the industry. 24/7 customer service. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the channel. All right. Now we get into it. All right. So let's start off here. Are the Dolphins sending a message via social media to players that, hey, you aren't part of our future plans? And one in particular being Jevon Holland. He had his show with Cam Wolf. It's a great show. Cam Wolf, friend of the channel. We had him on last off season. So if you haven't had a chance, go subscribe to them, with that Breaking House Rules podcast, go check them out. But this clip is from that, and listen to what Jevon Holland had to say.
What's been I don't know if the word is shocker, but since you've been in the I guess what's been the biggest thing that's kind of you didn't expect kind of thing?
I guess from being with the Dolphins and kind of transitioning into I'm about to be a free agent kind of thing, transparently seeing the Dolphins post things like the or the Valentine's Day stuff or any type of edits and things like that, and you could see guys that may not be here next year or may be somewhere else, are just not in it. Yeah. So I'm following them on Instagram, right?
That's right.
And I'm not in none of this shit no more. And I'm okay, they've kind of moved on from, you know what I mean?
Not saying that you think the social team they don't know.
Well, I don't know.
They just know what not to do.
You would be surprised.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Crazy.
But I will say that I noticed it.
Approval from certain people in the organization that tell them yay or nay based on
And
it would make sense though if you're a free agent.
Yeah, hey, you might go somewhere else. You don't know.
There's a chance.
Let's not include them because we want to focus on the guys that we know are going to be next year. There's a possibility that I'm not. So, but noticing that, I'm damn, now I'm just I'm following the Dolphins, which obviously I'm still following because I was just there, but I'm following them. I'm not in none of this shit no more. I'm all right, might as well just but why am I following it? No, but it's okay, I get it. I understand the decision to do that because I would do the same thing if I was in the same position. But from my perspective, I'm just watching it. I'm
yeah, it's interesting.
I get it, but I'm just okay, this is kind of the effects of being a free agent. You start to your team or what was your team starts to kind of phase you out in a way. And you could kind of feel that through the fans as well. They're we're on to the next one. Go ahead. And I'm hey, all right, that's cool, bro.
So, first things first, kudos to the Dolphins. That's number one. Number two, I'd send them the same message. Let's be real here. Let's be real. He hasn't been the same since he suffered the 2 injuries against the Jets on the Black Friday game. Let's keep it a $150 here. He has not been the same. That's just like a fact. He has not been the same whatsoever. And you know what? What can you do? I mean, think about this. Think about your Chris Grier, okay? You've had all these guys, we documented them over the years on this channel, how tough the negotiations have been with Athletes First clients and Chris Grier. It's not like Drew Rosenhaus where they have a great relationship and things get done. You already know you have a pretty volatile relationship with Athletes First. That's number one. And number two, you just want this player who they're pushing for to be paid. I told y'all last offseason you wanted Antoine Winfield money. That's what they're looking at. And you as Chris Grier, you know who you got to negotiate with. You know what he wants. You have a ballpark idea. But you also just watched him go into business for himself all year. What reason has Javon Holland even given the front office to have hope in bringing him back at a reasonable price? They just watched you go into business for yourself all season long while they knew how much money you want and they knew who they were going to have to negotiate with. Yeah. I'd be like, yeah, I'm out too. I'm not going to lie. And remember, I was one of the guys pre-draft pushing Javon Holland to the Miami Dolphins. I was ahead of the Javon Holland curve. And I'm still sitting here saying, yeah. Like the decline from year one. And really, it really has to do to me with the Black Friday. Like year two wasn't as bad, but the Black Friday, that he has not been the same since those it just hasn't looked the same. You know, and if you go watch the interview, he talks about like, it's over. It's done. We're going to have to rebuild the safety room. And listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. Man, you got Malachi Starks. You know, I don't think Nick Manowari will be on the board for when we pick at 48. I really don't. But you got some other really good players. You know, Andrew Makuba is a guy I've talked about. Xavier Watts is a guy I've talked about. You got Malachi Moore in this draft. I mean, you got some decent safeties in this class. You really do. You really do. For all you Penn State fans, you got Kevin Winston. So you got some decent safeties in this class. And does this make, I think Malachi Starks, I know some mocks have had him dropping a little bit. That's a day one impact player for you. I think Malachi Starks is going to be better than Javon Holland. I think Nick Manowari has a chance to be better than Javon Holland too. I really do. So, I think there's options for us, man. Yeah, I mean, there are, because here's what happened. I think I've only got I gotta go back and look, but I've only got I've got 11 or 12 first round grades, but we're at 13, and Shedeur and Cam, I don't have first round grades on. They're gonna go in the I have high second round on Cam, like top of the second round grade. They're gonna go in the top 10 probably, and then especially if Jackson Dart slips in there. It looks like one of those first round graded guys is probably gonna slip down to us. It really does look like one of those first round graded players is going to drop down to us. So we'll see how it falls and how it all works out, but it does look like one of the first round, it does seem like we're going to get a guy with a first round grade when it all works out. Are we going to get an Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter? No. Probably not going to get Mason Graham or Will Campbell either. But I do think we have a shot at guys like Kelvin Banks. I do think you're going to have a shot at a Malachi Starks, a Jalen Walker. You're going to have a shot at those guys. I think you might even have a shot at Tet McMillan the way things are falling. So, I'm pretty high on Armand Membo. You'll have a shot at him probably too. I have him as my tackle. It depends. If I have him as I have Campbell, Banks, and Membo are my top guys. If I think they can. I think all three of those guys could play tackle or play guard at the next level. I think you're gonna have a shot at all of those guys. I think you're gonna have a shot at potentially Kelvin Banks and Armand and Membo. I think Campbell will be off the board. So, but you're gonna have a shot. Will Johnson may fall. That may push him down. Especially if the Jets go Tyler Warren and Tyler Warren goes in the top 10, that could push him down. If Shedeur, Cam, and Tyler Warren, as well as another quarterback go in the top 10, we're going to have pretty good pickings. Now, my first mock draft that I did a month ago, where I really solved so many issues, month and a half ago, whatever it was, Kelvin Banks was my pick at 13 when he fell to me. But you're going to have options, man. I mean, you look at a guy like Jalen Walker. He can play linebacker. You can play off the edge. You can do so many things for you. Malachi Starks, I know people have, because of Minka and Holland, they have safety fatigue. But Malachi Starks is a day one starter on this defense. I've told y'all, I've heard they're really high on Michael Williams, the edge from Georgia. That's another player to watch. You know what I mean? A guy I would take there is Kenneth Grant. I'm really high on Kenneth Grant. Now, I don't think they'll go for a guy like Jahdae Barron. I see him more as a slot right now, and I don't think they're going to take a guy who projects best in the slot, and then you want to work him out to the boundary. I don't think they'll take that high. I've told y'all, I do think you got to watch guys like Emeka Buka as being a sneaky pick there. I think you really do got to watch that. Another player I've said that they might be high on, two players are Siobhan Revel and Benjamin Morrison, if Will Johnson's off the board. So, there's, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Draft is coming and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how all this goes. So, but we got to get through free agency first, man. And we got the combine coming up this week too. So we're getting in combine mode, free agency mode, and then right back into draft mode. I'm probably going to be dropping my first big board after I drop my free agency. I want to do my top 30 targets for free agency like I did last year. I'm going to drop that after the combine, and then we'll get the first big board, and then we'll get into free agency. And then after free agency and it fills out a little bit, I'll drop a bunch of big boards. And my first big board is probably going to be either quarterback or tight end, probably makes the most sense. So quarterback, because I want them to double dip, or I might drop offensive line. We'll see. But I want them to double dip. I want them to get a developmental quarterback through the draft, and I want them to sign a veteran. I see people out here are stealing my Kirk Cousins takes right a month and a half later. So we'll see. But I will have a big board coming for you, as well as my top 30 free agent targets like I do every year. All right, so a lot of content coming your way as, hey, man, we are getting into March. We are getting into the end of February. There's only, 7 days left in February? And then we get into, and then get into combine, get into free agency. Think about it, man. We're only a little over 3 weeks away from free agency opening up. We're not that far away. All right, so I've got a lot of content coming for you as we get closer to it. All right. So let's keep it going. Speaking of the offensive line, shout out to Mina because she's out here pleading for Chris Grier to upgrade the offensive line.
Finally, and this is a continuation not only of my complaints earlier about the run game, but really of complaints I've had about this team and how it's built. Marcus, you've been on the show with me for maybe 3 or 4 years. The offensive line! I don't care that your quarterback throws the ball in 2.25 seconds. You are not going to win football games in January if you can't run the ball better. And you can't run the ball better if you don't invest in that offensive line, particularly on the interior. Both their guards are free agents. Chris Grier, the GM, has to address the offensive line.
I mean, what have we said? That's exactly what I every year, the motto heading into the season is this team will go as far as the offensive line takes them. That's the motto every offseason on this channel. And what do I talk about? December games are like playoff games where you got to run the football to win. You got to win in the trenches on both sides. You got to stop the run and you got to run the ball. They'll never change, especially as you're going through cold weather cities. And she ain't wrong. She is not wrong at all. Now, when you get into the interior, everyone knows where I'm at. I want Jonah Savannah, right? Arizona ran a lot of zone. The way Savannah moves for his size, I don't think you have to be a primary. You want to go, they want to run a little bit more gap, but a lot more inside zone. Jonah Savannah fits that. And I don't think he'll struggle like some are trying to make it out to seem when he gets into that outside zone work. I think 13's too rich for Tyler Booker. As well as Donovan Jackson and Gray Zabel. You know what I mean? Obviously. But, I mean, again, this is, day 2 is where you really want to hit on these guys, right? Like Donovan Jackson, Gray Zabel, Jonas Savannah. These are like day 2 guys. And then day 3 is when you get into the Marcus Mumbos and the Tate Ratledges, And then, I think a guy like Miles Frazier will rise. I know Willie Lampkin didn't get invited to the Combine, but I think teams are going to be really high on him. So I think Dylan Fairchild's another guy too. So, I think day 2, early day 3 is a sweet spot for the interior offensive line. Now, 2 guys that are going to be on my man crush list, I'm going to tell you right now. Jackson Slater and Clay Webb. I've already talked about them. Those guys you're going to be able to get on day 3. And I think they are, if you can get them and you can double dip, like if you take a guard high, like on day 2 or early day 3, those would be guys I'd be looking at late day 3. If I could get my hands on a Clay Webb or Jackson Slater, I'm all over it. I'm all over it. Remember how high I was last year on like guys like Mason McCormick and such, and I've been pretty spot on with interior guys. So, what would be the earliest I'd be good with taking Booker? I would trade back from 13. I wouldn't take him till into the 20s. Personally. Another guy I'm really high on, you can probably get on day 3 is Connor Colby. There's some guys, man. Day 2, though, man, I'm telling you, day 2 is a sweet spot. I'm also pretty high on, like, Luke Kandra from Cincinnati. You look at, like, day 2, early day 3, I feel like, boom, that's going to be, like, that's where you really beef up your interior. And that's also where you find, I think, your tight end if you want to. Honestly. So, yeah. I was higher on Troy Fautanu than I am Tyler Booker. So, yeah, when you look at the interior and that offensive line, I agree. A double dip. Did Tyreek Hill finally get wrist surgery. Check this video that came out.
Yo, peep this. Anybody in the Aventura area, come pull up on me at the Soul Runner store. I'll be up there at 4:30 today. 4:30 to close. Close is like 9 o'clock, so I'll be up there all day, hanging out. Come vibe with me. Come ask me questions, whatever the case may do. Yeah, so pull up, man.
So there you go. I mean, you can see the wrist clearly wrapped. And you know, hey, to any of you that are heading over to Ventura Mall, let us know. But it looks like he finally got that wrist surgery taken care of as he prepares for whatever's going to happen this offseason. You know, hey, go get it taken care of, Reek. I don't know what else to say. You know, I don't know how this is going to play out. I think everything's still on the table. I don't think a decision's been made yet. I do think they're going to eventually, I think they're going to try and work it out, because I don't think the market's going to be robust enough to justify them trading him away when Grier and McDaniel are desperate to keep their jobs. They probably don't see it as addition by subtraction. So, agreed, Pro Special. This is a draft where you want to have as many picks between 20 and 100. That's why if I could get, you know, 2 2s or a second and a third for Tyreek, I'd be seriously considering it. I'm not even lying. Not even lying. Because, I mean, hell, I mean, like, let's be real here. You know, you even look at that wide receiver class, and there's some gems here, right? Like, I think Matthew Golden, I mean, he's being pushed into the first here. But you look at Jaden Higgins, you know, a Jalen Royals, a Savion Williams, a Jack Besh, you know, Torrey Horton, Jalen Noel, guys we like. A Ricky White's a huge guy, like a huge favorite to me, but I think he's more of like, you know, a day 3 pick, later day 3 pick, mid day 3 pick. But my point is, when you look at, you know, even Trey Harris from Ole Miss, I'm very high on Trey Harris. You know, these are, you know, even the receiver, you know, these are guys you want, but they're day 2, day 3, you know, day 2 guys or really early day 3 guys. And, you know, even when you look at receiver and replacing a guy like Tyreek Hill, day 2 seems to be another sweet spot, you know? So it literally is. This draft is, the bread and butter of this draft is going to be round 2 to early round 5. That's where the bread and butter of this draft is going to be. Yeah, I see Dr. Quiet said that too. Rounds 2 through 5 have so many good players. Yes, the bread and butter is rounds 2 to early round 5 of this draft, I would say. Honestly, that's how I view it. So, get to know those prospects. You know, that's what I would recommend to anyone. Any Dolphin fan especially. And hey, if you can find another way to stack more picks, I'm all for it. Now, sticking with Tyreek Hill, did y'all see Ryan Clark directly call him out to his face? Now, some backstory on this. I've already told this story. If you remember, Raheem Mostert was on the pivot last season. Well, that was originally supposed to be Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill didn't even let the Miami Dolphins social media team know. Like, the pivot showed up and started setting up, and then they were like, yo, what are you doing here? Oh, we have an interview with Tyreek Hill. They went to find Tyreek Hill, and he'd already left the building. Okay? And they were like, so they scrambled. They found Raheem Mostert for them, and Tyreek was like, I'm not coming back. Well, I guess they did the makeup interview. Right? So, look, check this out.
Man, I feel like, bro, y'all too, I love y'all too, but this joke here, that's really pissing me off. Tell me why I piss you off. My mom always sending me stuff for what Mr. Ryan Clark always saying about me. So here's what I said about you. Here's what I said about you. When you go into the locker room and you say what you said, that's not leadership to me. Right? When you and I can say, I'll say that to your face. Right. I'm never gonna say anything about y'all that I wouldn't say in front of y'all, because I know I paint a certain picture. Right. I'm pro player all the time, but in that situation, you a leader, right? And like, people look at you not only for what you do in Miami, but for what you do overall. Right. You're better than, in my opinion, you're better than that. You're right. In my opinion. So having calmed down, how do you see that situation now? I feel just like you said. You know what I'm saying? I feel exactly like you said, though. Like, no bad blood against anybody.
Hold up.
So, I mean, like, where's the lie, Tyreek? And why I played that is it really resonates with what Richmond Webb said when he was asked about the whole thing with Tyreek. I mean, look at, we've got former players outside of the organization, and I brought a former player from the organization directly to you guys, put them on screen, and they're pretty much saying the same thing. And Richmond went a little deeper and said, how could I ever trust you again if I was in that locker room? So, you know, this is where the conflict is, man. This is where the conflict is for me. Because I haven't really taken a stance on this yet. Because I haven't really had to. This is where the conflict arises for me, man. Because I agree. He's the most dynamic player we've had since Ricky Williams. And arguably the most dynamic player to ever put on the uniform. But at the same time, I got to look at it from the other 52 players and the coaching staff. How could you ever trust this man in a big moment again? He just quit on y'all. So now what? You got to be chewing your fingernails and nervous and riddled with anxiety that if Tua goes down, the season is going to be derailed. And Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier got to worry that their job is going to be gone because they're going to lose the locker room because of this guy. But then it's man, I don't know. I'll tell you much. Tons of times y'all joke around and say reason should be a GM, reason should be head of scouting. I'm gonna tell you this. This is one of those decisions I'm glad they ain't paying me millions of dollars to make. I really, and I agree, Jim. Now Alpha's right when he corrected me. Yeah, you probably shouldn't take him off the ballot. Yeah, 110%. But the players, there's not a single player in that room should ever vote for him to be a captain if he stays. And if they do, don't get mad when that soft mentality narrative keeps going on. Because guess what? To me, if you were to vote that man a captain after he just quit on you, that's a definition of soft. I would never, ever let a quitter lead me into battle. Let me tell you that. Sorry, not happening. That's just my opinion. It is what it is. So, hey man, we can have the discussion, we can have the argument about it all you want, but just where I'm at, I don't know, man. I'm honestly, if you put me in a position, you put a gun to my head and said the reason you got to make a decision, I'd probably trade him. But it's not like 90-10. It's like 60-40 because I understand. It's the most dynamic player in Dolphins history, maybe other than Ricky Williams. I would understand it if they kept him, but if you're gonna make it work, there should be certain rules that need to be abided by if you're going to make it work. So shout out to you, Robert. So, I don't know. It's tough. Let me put it this way. This is the best way I can put it right now. If they traded him, I wouldn't shed a tear. If they kept him, I would understand it. But I would be very weary of him moving forward. That's the best way I could put it. If you could give me a second and a third or two twos, yeah, I'd understand. Okay, yeah, you ain't gonna see a tear from me. Now, especially if you give me a third pick, holy geez, I'll pack his bags. But if you do keep him and you try to make it work, I understand it. But there needs to be certain things in place, certain parameters in place so we avoid what happened last year. So now how you go about and do that, again, that's why you guys get paid tens of millions of dollars to be GM and on that coaching staff, and I don't. So there you go. So guys, I am going to be back again this weekend. I got another topic I want to talk about this weekend. I'm probably going to drop that on Sunday because I think my daughter has a dance competition tomorrow. If I remember correctly, it's tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. So I am going to probably be live on Sunday in the day. Look out for that. If not, then maybe I drop it tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. But that's going to be a live show. I will be live for you guys this weekend once more. We got more stuff to talk about, man. We got to catch up. I got some topics I want to cover before we get into Combine Week, all right? Because this week, Combine Week, we're going to give you players to watch at the Combine, all that kind of stuff. So be on the lookout for that. Smash that like button. Listen, we're under 50 subscribers away from hitting 17K. I want to do a big 20K giveaway with multiple winners. So let's get there. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Shout out to BetUS for supporting the channel. It's a blessing to be back after my birthday trip. 40-40 Club, baby. See y'all in the next one. Fins up all day, every day.